Good evening. Welcome to California Today. I'm Liang Zhang. Here's a preview of some of today's stories. The gunman who killed his three daughters, a chaperone, and himself last week was living in the United States illegally, and the firearm was an unregistered ghost gun. Amid a homeless crisis, the city of Los Angeles may convert some of its land for homeless use. This could mean more tiny home villages and RV parking spaces. A military contractor was arrested for allegedly selling off sensitive American tech to foreign countries. His company produced the weapons-grade components. More details of the tragic Sacramento shooting have come out. The gunman who killed his three daughters, a chaperone, and himself last week was in the United States illegally. He carried out the shooting with an unregistered firearm, also known as a ghost gun.
Immigration officials said David Mora, 39, was in the U.S. illegally when he killed his three daughters, a chaperone who was supervising his visit with the children, and himself at the church in Sacramento. A spokesperson from ICE told the Associated Press that Mora overstayed his visa after entering California from Mexico in December 2018. ICE asked to be notified when Mora was released from jail after he was arrested in Merced County for assaulting the California Highway Patrol officer. Investigators said Mora had been living at the church after he was released from an involuntary mental health hold in April 2021. He was held there after threatening to harm himself and his estranged girlfriend. During Mora's weekly visit with his three daughters, he opened fire, killing them all. Investigators revealed no motive. His ghost gun had an illegal 30-round ammunition magazine. 17 bullets were fired. Mora was under a restraining order and not supposed to have a gun. Authorities do not know how or when he obtained it. At the time, Mora was out on bail after being arrested 5 days earlier on charges of resisting arrest, battery on a police officer, and driving under influence. Under California's 2017 sanctuary state law, immigration officials are not notified about in-custody people who are being released. It restricts cooperation between local law enforcement and federal officials, except when immigrants are accused of very serious crimes.
Los Angeles may soon repurpose over 24 of its vacant lots into temporary housing for the homeless. Angelenos should see more tiny home villages and RV parking spaces. NTD's David Lamb reports.
The city of Los Angeles may soon convert 26 of its city properties into interim housing. Ron Galperin, the city controller, said vacant city-owned parking lots could be used to allow people to live in their cars or RVs. He stated, increasingly, Angelenos are calling for development of interim housing facilities because of the inadequate supply of permanent housing and the lengthy timelines associated with projects developed using bond proceeds from Proposition HHH. Charity on Wheels founder Zach Southall also said the previous $1.2 billion plan to build 10,000 permanent housing units was too costly. He said solving homelessness takes more than just housing.
Sometimes that's mental illness, sometimes that's addiction, sometimes it's just people fell on hard times and didn't have a family to fall back on. They just need a hand up, not a hand out so much. So,
according to a report from the city's controller released on January 12th, the city identified 1.7 million square feet of land, although the entire land may not be suitable. The project is focusing on a mixture of vacant land and parking lots. Marlton Square in Crenshaw and Lancet Industrial Park near Watts were some of the sites identified for interim shelters and tiny home villages. Other properties such as Skid Row's Parker Center, which used to be old police headquarters, are also being considered. Officials are working with the Federal Aviation Administration to see whether airport properties can be used as well. According to the controller's report, each of the 26 identified sites has met city standards, meaning they have at least a minimum of 20 parking spaces for what they call safe parking, as well as being available for at least 3 years. David Lamb, NTD News, California.
Speaking of LA's homeless issues, one city council member is collecting signatures for more direct action in addressing homelessness. Not only is he supporting housing, but he's also looking to ban homeless encampments. Here's what Angelenos need to know about the signature collection effort.
The city of Los Angeles is moving one step closer to banning homeless encampments. On March 3rd, the Los Angeles City Clerk approved a measure titled Safer Streets LA. Along with banning encampments, the measure would increase temporary housing for homeless individuals. The petition is being circulated for signatures until July. City Councilman Joe Buscaino and Safer Streets LA organizers need about 65,000 signatures. With enough signatures, the City Council may pass the measure. If they don't pass it, it will appear on the upcoming November ballots. No matter how the measure is approved, it would give the mayor the power to declare a local homelessness emergency. Buscaino's measure would kick in only after people have been offered shelter and refused it. It would also allow the city to cut through the red tape for building shelters. He said, creating enough transitional housing will be the fastest way toward helping those who need it most and returning order to our neighborhoods across Los Angeles. Charity on Wheels founder Zach Southall said solving homelessness takes more than just housing.
Friday was the 2-year anniversary of California's COVID state of emergency. As the governor holds on to his executive powers, some lawmakers are pushing back. Here's what some lawmakers are working to change.
California's state of emergency for the CCP virus, also known as COVID-19, passed its 2-year mark on March 4th. It has given Governor Gavin Newsom authoritative power over lawmakers. Now, some lawmakers are pushing to remove his powers. Assemblyman Kevin Kiley said, "We live in this state of just a one-man rule, with one person reporting to make decisions on behalf of 40 million people." In February, Newsom removed 95% of executive orders as well as mask mandates for both K-12 schools and unvaccinated workers. But he still holds on to power through the state of emergency. The California Emergency Services Act has allowed Newsom to make, amend, and rescind laws, and he can do so without the legislature's approval. His office did not respond as to when the state of emergency would be lifted. Kiley said, "We just hosted the Super Bowl 2 weeks ago, and the justification for a state of emergency is completely expired." Senator Melissa Melendez said, "We can't continue in a state of emergency forever." She introduced legislation requiring her colleagues to vote on ending the state of emergency. A hearing has been scheduled for March 15th. Melendez added that the point behind the bill is to make sure that there are some limitations placed on the executive branch.
Federal agencies arrested a California-based military contractor for allegedly sending technology to China. The Justice Department said he broke federal export laws by sending out sensitive U.S. tech to multiple foreign countries.
Federal agencies arrested 77-year-old Joe Seri, former owner and CEO of Tungsten Heavy Powder and Parts. They allege he knowingly and willfully exported military intelligence. The intelligence includes data and drawings to China and India without U.S. approval. The San Diego-based company supplies fragments and weapon-grade components made of tungsten, a rare metal, to the military. He conspired with his 70-year-old brother, Dror Seri, a dual citizen of Israel and South Africa. He remains a fugitive and is believed to be living in Israel. A U.S. attorney stated, the indictment alleges that these brothers disregarded important regulations designed to keep sensitive information from falling into the hands of those who would harm America. The brothers allegedly created a non-company email to secretly access the sensitive documents from Tungsten's part system. They exported the sensitive technical drawings by email when Dror was in India and China. Prosecutors said Tungsten Parts had contracts with multiple aerospace and defense companies from 2016 to 2019 to work on projects involving the construction of an advanced rapid response weapon. It's illegal to transfer data, goods, and services that are designed as defense items out of the United States without a license. If convicted, violators face a maximum penalty of up to 20 years in prison and a $1 million fine. Tungsten Parts has agreed to assist with the investigation. NTD reached out to Tungsten Parts for a comment.
And coming up, ports in Southern California are seeing low numbers of imports recently, but experts say it's natural this time of year and expect a pickup in goods next season. Santa Clara County examining if DNA obtained through rapekits is being used to prosecute individuals. The county is following San Francisco's lead. A World War II veteran has died. A local Marine Corps club is planning a ceremony to celebrate his life. That and more here on NTD News. Former UFC star Cain Velasquez had his request for bail denied on Monday by a judge in Santa Clara County. The retired MMA fighter is being held for the murder attempt of a man who has been charged with molesting the fighter's relative. Velasquez's attorney took issue with how his client was denied bail and the suspected child molester was not. NTD's Jason Blair brings us more.
Former two-time UFC heavyweight champion Cain Velasquez was denied bail on Monday by a Santa Clara County judge. Velasquez is being held for allegedly taking the law into his own hands when he chased down and shot at suspected child predator Harry Goularte on Highway 101. Goularte is being charged with molesting a 4-year-old girl who is a relative of Velasquez. Goularte was released on $0 bail and is awaiting trial. On February 28th, the former UFC fighter had followed the suspected predator in his car from Morgan Hill to San Jose on Highway 101. According to authorities, Velasquez rammed into Goularte's pickup truck before discharging his firearm. A passenger in Goularte's truck was struck by a bullet and suffered non-life-threatening injuries. Goularte was unharmed. Velasquez hired celebrity attorney Mark Garagos. Garagos commented after the hearing on Monday, a father who was not consulted when they released a perpetrator back into the public with $0 bail, yet they are holding Cain at no bail. This is why people are disgusted and rightfully so with the criminal justice system. At the hearing, Judge Shalina Brown said the former UFC star's actions were reckless and anyone could have been killed. Joe Rogan, a comedian and UFC commentator, spoke in support of Velasquez on his podcast, saying, "I only wish that he did it with his hands." Prosecutors charged Velasquez with premeditated attempted murder. He is scheduled to appear again in court on April 12th. Jason Blair, NTD News, San Francisco.
It's gas prices, it's inflation, and it's also the supply chain. But at least for the supply chain, things may start turning around soon, even though ships coming into California are much less than just 2 months ago. Experts are expecting things to pick up next season.
Los Angeles and Long Beach ports are seeing fewer cargo ships in recent days. Port officials have said that the slowdown has allowed for clearing the docks in preparation for a busy spring and summer. The number of ships headed to the port on March 4th dropped to 59. That's down from a record high in January of 109. On the bright side, the slowdown has allowed port operators to clear cargo and get goods off the docks. Port of Los Angeles spokesman Philip Sanfield said, "We're basically seeing the effects of the slowdown of the Lunar New Year." He added, "We're going to see a rebound of more cargo coming our way." Ships typically take 2 weeks after leaving Asia to reach the port complex. The ports are taking advantage of the lull to clear out the container stockpile. Kip Laudit, executive director of the Marine Exchange of Southern California, said, "Everybody's working very hard to try to move the cargo." Long Beach reported about 13,100 containers stored for more than 6 days at its terminal on March 4th. That was half the amount the port had in October. Experts predict it could be 6 to 12 months before the ports clear the backup and return to pre-pandemic operations.
The Santa Clara County Supervisor wants a review of crime lab practices following an incident in San Francisco. The review is about using DNA gathered from rape victims to use in prosecution of other cases.
Santa Clara County Supervisor Cindy Chavez said she's requesting a report of her county's crime lab practices to be received in April.
That Santa Clara County's crime lab prohibits the use of DNA collected from sexual assault survivors to connect them to any crime.
This comes as in February, the San Francisco Police Crime Lab allegedly used sexual assault evidence to connect the victim to an unrelated crime. There are concerns whether this is a common practice in California.
When a person is sexually assaulted, I care about 2 things. Number 1, the victim's well-being. Number 2, holding the rapist accountable. Victim DNA is used to catch rapists. Period.
In San Francisco, police investigators allegedly used a victim's DNA collected as part of a rape kit in 2016 to tie her to a burglary in late 2021, according to SF District Attorney Chesa. The woman initially faced a felony property crime offense, but the charges have been dropped. The SF Chief of Police said that the victim's information is no longer being used, and that it only appears to have been a singular case at this time. Less than 23% of sexual assaults were reported to police in 2020, down from nearly 34% from 2019, according to the Department of Justice's Criminal Victimization Survey.
Some Hollywood stars are raising money for Ukrainian refugees. Hollywood couple Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis are at the forefront, along with some major organizations.
The two have raised over $17 million as of this Monday, just 3 days after setting up a GoFundMe page. Kutcher, sitting by Kunis' side in the video, said the funds would be used to provide refugee and humanitarian aid to Ukrainians. Kunis, born in Ukraine, moved to the United States when she was 7 years old. The two actors, who married in 2015, have agreed to match up to $3 million of donations, with the ultimate goal of raising $30 million. They are partnering with short-term housing websites, Airbnb.org and Flexport.org, which organizes shipments of humanitarian aid to refugees. Other California-based contributors include Wells Fargo and Reddit co-founder Alexis Ohanian.
A century-old World War II veteran passed away last Friday. A Central Valley group plans to celebrate his life.
The Stockton Marine Corps Club will be hosting a celebration of life ceremony in Stockton for William White. He is a U.S. Marine Corps veteran who served in the Battle of Iwo Jima during World War II. He was 106. According to a Facebook post from the Marine Corps Club, the Major lived a great life, and though he was 106 years old, he fought to be with us until the end. Those of us that knew him are heartbroken, but we know that he will want us to be strong. White died with his daughter and granddaughter by his side. He was born in Long Beach in July 1915 and joined the Marines in 1934. He later was stationed in Pearl Harbor. He went to Parker Ranch in Hawaii for training and prepared for the invasion of Iwo Jima. According to the Post, he was ashore after the first flag was raised, landing on the beach directly under Mount Suribachi, and was with the 1st Battalion, 28th Marines at the time, and then he was wounded and sent back to the U.S. Last year, he recited the Gettysburg at a virtual 76th anniversary Battle of Iwo Jima tribute.
47 years ago, our forefathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Today,
White had spent his final days living at a senior center. Instead of flowers, his family asked people to make donations to the Hospice of San Joaquin County or the Stockton Marine Corps Club. More details about the celebration will be announced later, following a private cremation and burial for White in Huntington Beach.
When we think about feeding a newborn, most people will think of milk. But atop this Southern California pine tree, a newly hatched bald eagle has meat on the menu. Video on Monday shows the eagle pair, a male named Shadow and a female named Jackie, caring for their chick. Last year, the pair also laid 2 eggs, but neither chick survived. The nest is in a pine tree about 145 feet above the ground. Friends of Big Bear Valley, which operates a webcam on the nest, says the second egg could hatch any day. And let's turn to NTD's Thomas Christian for an update on sports.
I'm Thomas Christian, giving you the California Today Sports Roundup. Michael McCarron had 2 goals and 2 assists as visiting Nashville matched the biggest margin of victory in its history by defeating San Jose 8-0. Yus Saros made 20 saves for his 3rd shutout of the season and the 17th of his NHL career. Matt Love had 2 goals and an assist, and Matt Duccini scored 2 goals. Roman Josi had 4 assists for Nashville. Yakov Trenin and Mikhail Granlund also scored, with Philip Tomasino contributing 3 assists. Predators 8, Sharks 0. Victor Arvidsson completed his 4th career hat trick after scoring exactly 4 minutes into overtime to carry Los Angeles past host Columbus. Los Angeles ended the contest after Arvidsson elevated his backhanded shot past Elvis Merzlikins on a breakaway. Dustin Brown also tallied, and Jonathan Quick made 26 saves. Kings 4, Blue Jackets 3 in overtime. Nicholas Roy scored twice to highlight a 4-goal second period as Vegas beat host Anaheim for the 20th time in 24 meetings between the teams. Jakob Silfverberg, Nicholas Desliars, Trevor Zegras, and Troy Terry scored goals, and Cam Fowler had 2 assists for Anaheim, which took its 7th loss in the past 10 games. John Gibson finished with 30 saves. Golden Knights 5, Ducks 4. New York pulled out of a 7-game tailspin while snapping host Clippers' 5-game winning streak in a rout. The Knicks stifled Los Angeles defensively, holding the Clippers to just 33 of 88% shooting from the field and 11 of 34 from three-point range. Amir Coffey's 16 points off the bench led Los Angeles. Knicks 116, Clippers 93. Spencer Dinwiddie scored a season-high 36 points, and Dorian Finney-Smith sank a three-pointer with 3.8 seconds remaining as a Dallas Mavericks team playing without Luka Doncic rallied to beat Sacramento. Sacramento guard De'Aaron Fox tied a career high with 44 points, but missed a chance to give the Kings the lead when he missed the first of 2 foul shots with 12 seconds remaining. He still made the second to tie the game. Mavericks 114, Kings 113. LeBron James capped a season-best 56-point performance with a dunk, a late 8-0 run as the Los Angeles Lakers survived a frantic finish to outlast the visiting Golden State Warriors 124-116 on Saturday night. The points were the most James has scored as a member of the Lakers, while his 50-point game was the 13th of his career. His previous high since joining the Los Angeles Lakers had been 51 at Miami in 2018. In matching the third highest scoring game of his career, James shot 19 for 31 from the field and 6 for 11 on three-pointers. He was even hot at the free throw line, finishing 12 for 13, and also found time for a game-high tying 10 rebounds. James' career high is 61 points for Miami against the Charlotte Hornets in 2014. Russell Westbrook also finished with 20 points for the Lakers, who were coming off a 21-point shellacking at the hands of the rival Clippers 2 nights earlier. Steph Curry had 30 points for Golden State, which has lost 8 of its last 10 to fall into 3rd place in the Western Conference for the first time this season. Lakers 124, Warriors 116. As always, I'm Thomas Christian, and thanks for tuning in.
That's all that we have for you tonight. We'd love to have you back on California Today every weekday at 8:30 p.m. Feel free to let us know if you have any news tips for our show. We're also on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and our website. I'm Ling Zhang. We'll see you next time.